Last episode we got into applied energistics, getting our first budding certusquads. Now we need to make a start on building our AE system. Out of all of the requests for guides on this channel, applied energistics seems to be the most requested, and I'm here to show you that you shouldn't be afraid of AE2. Oh, sorry. So today I'm going to show you the easiest methods to autocraft processors and inscribers, as well as an easy method to connect your already existing storage. Welcome back to SIEVELESS. So welcome back. Today's going to be quite an interesting episode because we're going to start off by finishing off our island, and I'm going to show you the schematic for the rest of it. So if I pull myself all the way out to here, you can see the rest of our island looking pretty swanky. The shaders mixed with the create schematic stuff does bug out a little bit, but it will look nicer when I show you it off later. There's also this little hidden part over here, which I think I'll be showing as well. I wonder what that could be. But off camera, I have been collecting up all the resources, so we won't do another episode on that, and we are left with two resources that we need, dirt and stone. Now the stone is actually covered. There's a really interesting recipe, and I remember in the first episode someone told me about this. If you remember, my method before was to punch this barrel a ton and use our magnet to basically carry all of the cobblestone over to this lava plume, and that would smelt it up into stone. However, one of you clever clogs came out with the idea that you can compress stone and actually compress it further, even 4x, 5x, and still smelt that into 5x or 4x stone. How did I not know this? So I never actually had to bring all my stuff over to this lava source. I could have just compressed it and then cooked it from there. Now, obviously, we need it in regular stone form, not this stone 1x form. So if you go into your keybinds, you're probably used to seeing the compress stack by pressing K. You can also decompress stack. So I've got a decompress all key, which is going to be my L key, and using Shift and L to decompress and Shift and K to compress, it makes this a lot quicker. So for example, I want to put a full inventory of stone into my vault, and the way that I'm going to do that is by grabbing 3 of my stone 1x stacks, opening my inventory and using Shift L that I selected earlier, and that will decompress all of it into stone. I can then just shift right click onto the item hatch, and we now have our stone completed. Let me just check. Yep, there we go. We now have stone completed. And just a heads up, that was 361 stacks of stone, 23k blocks. How's that for some off-camera mining? But we still require 1,544 dirt, 24 stacks. That's a lot. So the first part of this episode is going to be another quick and dirty farm. We did it for moss last time. We're going to be doing it for dirt this time, but I think this way will be really interesting, and I don't think I've seen anyone cover it. And for that, we're going to need some spell turrets from Ars Nouveau. We're going to craft up 2 basic spell turrets, and we can also upgrade them to the enchanted spell turrets. That requires a source gem block and 2 blaze rods. And the only difference between the enchanted spell turret is that spells cost half of the source. Right, let's move all the guys off the wall, and let's do an enchanting apparatus connected over here. And if I place my arcane core and then the enchanting apparatus, hold on. That's going to connect to those pedestals. We can't do that. Can we move it over by 1? Okay, cool. So we can put our arcane core over here, and that will only see these pedestals, which is what we want. And so if I get my source gem block, blaze rod, and then right click with my turret, it will now craft up the enchanted spell turrets. Hey, perfect. And we will do the same as well. Perfect, that's 2 enchanted spell turrets. If you're familiar with what we did before with Ars Nouveau, we are going to use the conjure terrain. That's the spell we're trying to do. And that is basically going to turn source into dirt. And if I use projectile conjure terrain, it's going to create dirt wherever I shoot it. I can also augment this with the AOE ability, and that will produce a larger area of dirt. Now these spell turrets are actually really interesting. I can make a spell turret cast a spell rather than me. So if I have my spell here, my conjure terrain with a load of AOEs, I can right click this onto the enchanted spell turret. Jim from the future here, make sure you don't shift right click, because that will actually cast the spell as well. And it now says it's going to be casting my more dirt spell. But you may be asking, surely it uses mana, how does it get that? So that is where our source jars come in, because if we cast spells using the spell turret, it will actually use a source jar rather than our mana. And I just need to pop this in the vicinity. So if I now give it a redstone signal, for example this lever behind it, it will now shoot our spell at the wall. With me so far, we're generating dirt. Now, if I swapped this spell out with, instead of conjure terrain, I used break, placed that inside the spell turret. Oh, what an idiot. Remember, I did say don't shift right click the spell turret. Anyway, so if we have our enchanted spell turret with projectile break and then use it, it will now break the dirt that we've just created and create a massive green shader error. That's sick. I love that. So we need to find a way to combine both this turret and a conjure terrain turret so that we shoot conjure the terrain, and then break the terrain. And for those of you who are familiar with Ars, I know we could use the manipulation turret here, but I'm going to do it through a different method that you're probably not familiar with. Oh my god, I'm back again. I need to get a new background. This is the old base. This is so bad. I'm here to interrupt to tell you guys that we just hit a massive milestone. We hit 10k on the channel. I'm so happy. We've got to figure out something to do as like a special sort of video. But if you have been enjoying these videos, please make sure to like and subscribe. And also, if you're on mobile, make sure you try and hype the video. I don't know how it works, but apparently YouTube can do that now. And make sure that these videos get promoted in the algorithm, so you know we got to do that. I'm going to craft myself something called a spell prism. Really easy recipe, just using a block of quartz in the middle. And I'm going to take this and pop it back in our compact machine. Now, I don't actually need the spell turret to show how this works, but if I place this down, you'll see there's a little hole side over here, and then every other side is just the regular side. If I cast a spell directly into that spell prism, it's going to basically redirect the spell. So if I cast it like this, you'll see it redirects it into that direction. Are you getting what I'm trying to do now? If I go back up to here, place my spell prism, making sure that it's facing the wall that I did earlier, we can now place a enchanted spell turret pointing directly into this spell prism. And we can place one in the other direction as well. And let's just test that this works. I'm going to add a few more AoEs. We can actually fill out our spellbook like this. So we've got 8 AoEs on my conjure terrain. I'm going to add a redstone signal to this, and we should see it shoot out over here. Perfect. Now, if I swap that out for a break and place that one underneath here, so I've placed a redstone signal directly onto the spell prism, so it should be powering both of them. I don't know what's going to happen here, whether the break or the conjure terrain is going to happen first. So let's find out. Okay, what about if I do it again? Ooh, okay, that worked. I've honestly never heard that noise come out of me before. Ooh, let's just spam it. We got loads of dirt. Check that out. How much have we got? We've already got 1,000 dirt. This was not intended. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. Yeah, we've used up quite a bit of the source jar here, but I think that's so worth it. It's such a quick farm to make. I'm just going to keep doing this until we finish off the source jar. It lags my game. It's so good. Right, there we go. We've used up a whole source jar. Let's see how much dirt we managed to get in the end there. Yeah, we got 3,000 dirt from all that. I didn't expect that design to be so quick, so I'm going to have to break that down now and just, I guess, call it a day for Ars. Whenever I get comments about Ars hate, you guys have no clue. This mod is so good. It just generated us 3,000 dirt in literally less than a minute. That is insane. In no other mod can you set up a farm that quickly that produces that much. And if there is, please let me know, because I'd like to try that as well. Great, so that should now be enough dirt to sort out our schematic cannon. Great, we've completed that now. Let's go and build this. So if you've been following the last few episodes, you know the drill. Add the gunpowder. I'll keep it on the replace solid with any. I think that should be okay. We'll press play, and then we time in a bottle it. Oh gosh, it's pointing down. Let's time in a bottle it, and let's get this going. Ah, chaos. So loud. Let's see what it's looking like. So I let the schematic cannon run, and I think I used about 4 full charges of the time in a bottle here, using up probably about 4 hours. It was crazy. I even had to fill up the schematic cannon with gunpowder, which I've never had to do in my entire modded Minecraft life. But eventually, it was fully built, and I was begging to hear the ding noise this time. I just want the ding. Come on, the ding. Yes, we got the ding. Oh, it's done. It's done. Right, let's explore. We're on episode, what, 7 now? We're on episode 7 and we've only just got the island sorted. Oh, I'm actually so excited. So let's go and explore the new place. What I wanted to show you was down here, my little secret lair with our brand new pet, Mr. Bat, over here. The cool thing is we've now got this underground lair area. Now, beforehand in the comments, I got a lot of things saying, you know, how do you know you're going to be able to fit all your machines, all your this into your base? And I was like, actually, it's a good point. So I carved out the inside of my island, and now I've got an underground space. Ironically, really similar to some of the islands that you start off with ATM. But you might also notice that we've got this stained glass up here. And actually, let me break this glass bit over here, and that should open this up to just be the stained glass. Okay, so it is now daytime, and we should have some light cascading through the pond. So let's have a quick look. I'm hoping it does it. Yeah, we get the god rays. They're like glowing through. This area looks so cool. Check this out. It's even got all the like caustics and reflections and stuff like this. Is so cool. Wow, what an angle. Check that out. We have to have something here. I don't entirely know what, but this would be so cool. So I hope that clears up everything that I was saying about the fact that we don't have all the space in the house specifically, because we now have this whole area here, which I need to add grass to so that it looks a bit better. Now, I'm going to need some more advice. I'm not entirely sure of how we should make an entrance to this place. Now, I had this open bit on the side, as you can see, which can be accessible by a jetpack, but wouldn't it be cool if we had an elevator that goes directly down the center, or if we had access from the side? I'm going to go into spectator mode and cheat a little bit, so I want to show you the space that we get access to. So this comes up to our mountain area up on the back side, so we could make some sort of entrance over here and make it look like a mine shaft. Or if we look at our smokestack that we had earlier, that comes directly down the center into the main bit. So we could have an elevator here. I'm honestly not sure. I think both ideas are really cool, but I want your opinion in the comments. What do you think would be good? And what can we stick over in this area here? You guys are better than me at the creative ideas. Just let me know in the comment section and I will try my best to try and adopt them. Is that a wandering trader? What? What are you doing up here, mate? Selling absolute rubbish. But now that that's all finished, we can focus on the meat and potatoes of this episode, which is getting ourselves started with applied energistics. That's going to be a little bit of automation and hopefully setting up some machines to make our lives a little bit easier. Last episode, we got a ton of Certus quartz here, which is going to be a great start to our supply. And we can now start working towards the next part of this. So the first thing I want to do is try and make ourselves some charged Certus quartz. There's a few ways of getting this, none of which we have access to at the moment. We could get into power and do it, but I think the easiest way is just to start with what they provide you, which is the basic charger from Applied Energistics. We can use the hand crank to power this, or we can plug it into the back of our cable, which will probably be a little bit easier. So let's try that. And I want to make a quick and dirty automation for this as well. So if I place a charger over here, I can place a hopper in and a hopper out. They've improved this now. So if I place my Certus quartz crystal up in the top, what will happen is it will charge it. And once it's charged, it instantly outputs it to the bottom where we get our charged Certus quartz. As soon as that gets outputted, we then input a brand new one in. So we should end up with a stack of Certus quartz. I think that should be enough for now. We'll give it a go. But we need to craft ourselves the inscriber. It's going to require a load of pistons, iron, and copper. And we're going to need quite a few of these. More specifically, we're going to need one for every single press that we're going to craft. And for now, we're going to need 4 and then plus 1. And I'll show you why in a second. So that is 5 inscribers in total. And actually, there's an Applied Energistics quest line. I wonder how helpful this will be. Yep, it's the exact same thing as I was about to say. Yep, the quest line is really handy for this. So in All the Mods Tend to the Sky, you actually craft your inscriber presses like so by using skystone dust, iron plates, and then silicon or whatever material you're using. The iron plates are easy. The skystone dust, I believe we got last time. We got the skystone dust last episode from the Fluix Researcher Villager. And if you get the block variant of it, there's a block generator recipe to do so. So I crafted myself up a gold tier block generator and popped that in the compact machine to keep generating more skystone dust. And that should be skystone. Perfect. Great. And I'll whack a drawer on top and we should be producing this quite quickly. Yeah, that's fantastic. Right, we've got that now. If I whack that in the smelter, yeah, there we go. Skystone. Perfect. We've got infinite of this now. And already we've charged our whole stack of Certus quartz as well. That'll be really handy for later. We're going to need Certus quartz. We're going to need diamond. All right, we're going to need gold. And we're going to need silicon. Oh, and cheers for last episode as well. I realized after your comments that I was wrong. The quartz blend here gives us 4, but if we use the enrichment chamber, it would have given us 6. Not that we needed any more silicon, but that was actually a really handy tip. So thank you guys for that. But we're going to place down an inscriber. We only need the one for now, and that's plugged into the back. I did check. I thought maybe you could daisy chain them together and power all of them using just one, but apparently not. You have to cable them all up, which is a bit irritating. But for now, we just need the one. And what we're going to do, we're going to add our iron plates in, our skystone dust, and then each one of our items to try and make the presses. Perfect. That is every single one of the presses we're going to need for the start of this. There will be more presses in the future. Don't worry, we'll craft them. So we're going to be trying to make processors here. The logic, calculation, and the engineering processor. And the way that this works is you need to combine all 3 of these ingredients. The printed circuit that you're using, redstone, and then printed silicon. The way that we get the printed silicon is by using the inscriber silicon press that we made earlier with silicon to make printed silicon. And the way that we make our circuits is by using the press with the item. You get the gist. But obviously, this is a little bit confusing to automate. So much so that there are mods later on that will actually improve the way that we can automate it, but we'll get into that later. For now, the early game automation is the most important. And I'm going to craft myself a basic energy cube over here. And now I guess we've got to decide where we're going to be having our inscriber automation. I think probably over here. We need 5 spaces for it, so I think this will actually be the best spot for it. We will end up having a better solution for this later, but for now, this is perfect. So I'm happy with that placement. I now need to grab some cables and bring that over here. So I've popped some cables out over here. Now we're not going to do it this way because we're going to be automating our inscribers a little bit differently. We're going to be using Super Factory Manager, SFM. And whoa, don't get scared. I'm not going to expect you to start coding. In fact, it's already one of the examples that's in SFM that you can get use of instantly. And I'll show you that in just a second. So in fact, I'm actually going to tear down this cable. And for SFM, the way that you connect your machines is using this inventory cable. It's not a particularly difficult craft, but it does look a little bit strange being a block form rather than an actual cable. There is a cable variant, but I honestly prefer the block form from what I'm about to show you. And we're also going to craft the network tool from SFM, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So the network tool is really interesting. If I hold it in my hand, I can see every single inventory cable that's actually connected to things. But more interestingly, if I pop it in my offhand and then right click with a block, I can actually mask my inventory cable so that it looks like a different block. I can also control click, and that will convert every single one of the inventory cables to that block as well. So we're actually able to hide all of our SFM cables. Not enough people know that. It's really handy. If you want to clear the cable look, you can just put your network tool in your offhand and then right click it, and that will make it and strip it back down to the inventory cable. This is what's going to be used to connect all of our machines up together with our automation. We're going to have 2 over here as well for some of our inputs and output chests. And we're going to connect up a basic energy cube to the bottom over here. We're also going to connect that up with a cable, and you'll see why in just a minute. I'm going to go into the interface here and just make sure that's set to output. So now we're charging up this basic energy cube. Perfect. I'm also going to add the factory manager. This will be what controls our entire system. We need inventory cables for that, 4 chests, and then a redstone repeater. This can be anywhere as long as it connects to our inventory cables. And just note, you can't facade this. Despite the fact that you can facade the cables, you cannot facade the super factory manager, so you might want to tuck that underneath. For now, I'll just pop that down below here. So to use SFM, any of our machines, power supplies, inventories, etc. all have to be touching this inventory cable. It doesn't matter what side. So I'm going to place down my 5 inscribers on the inventory cable just here. And I'm going to place 2 inventories, one for my input and one for my output. If I go into my Super Factory Manager, I then need to add a Super Factory Manager program disk. The way that you make these is by using red, green and blue dye, paper, and then a few redstone components. And if you pop that inside of your Factory Manager, you'll now have access to a bunch of settings. Now, if you're not familiar with Super Factory Manager, don't be afraid of it. It's such a good mod. You can copy and paste code from other Discords if you're not particularly programmatically minded. But if you are, this is the best way to automate your resources. It beats pipes, it beats everything. In my opinion, this is just so much better. If I open this up and go into the view examples, I can find this AE2 inscribers example here. And the whole purpose of this example is it's going to be taking in our materials, putting the required items into their own individual inscriber, then inputting all of the results from that into the barrel again, and popping them all into the last inscriber, which is going to craft up all of our processors. It then outputs all of that into the results. There is one modification that I'm going to be doing to this code. I'm even going to post this code in the Discord, even though I shouldn't be getting any of the credit for this. This is all Team D-Man, the creator of SFM, and all the developers behind this that have made these great examples for you to use. And I'm going to add the following code. Input FE : from cell each side, output FE to power each side. And then I'm going to add a forget just afterwards. So I'll hit done. I'll have a little warning message here explaining that none of the labels are assigned in the world. And this is where you need to craft yourself up the label gun from SFM. Again, not a difficult craft at all. Here's one I made earlier in Blue Peter fashion. And if I shift right click the factory manager with my label gun, it will pull the labels. So if I now right click air, I will now see all of my labels. So this is now where you set your machines and outputs to make sure that everything's working. So I'm going to show you this in real time, what I'm going to be doing. The first thing I want to do is label my cell, which is the energy cell that I popped down here. And I'm going to go into my cell and just make sure that I've got something on output. I've got the front here to output. I'm going to put these to output as well, but still have the input over here. I'm then going to right click and find the next thing, which is the power, and all of these machines that need power, I'm going to right click. So I can right click them like so and select all of them. However, there's a cheat code. If I want to select multiple the exact same way as I did my inventory cable, I can hold control and right click, and that will select every connected item of the same type. So in this case, it selected all of our inscribers. So for the power, this is perfect. I'm then going to add my materials. That'll be the left barrel over here. I'm going to add my results. That'll be the right barrel over here. And now we get to set up what we're going to have in each of these inscribers. I'm going to start off with the far left one and add our silicon press to it, and then get my label gun, right click the air, select silicon, and then right click that one with the silicon. I should see silicon and power on this one. I'm then going to go for the next one. That'll be my logic one. So the same here. I've added the logic press, and now we add the logic label. I'm now going to do the calculation press. So do that one as well. Add calculation. Then we'll add the engineering press as well. And then lastly, we need an empty one over here, and we're going to add this to be the last one. So just make sure that you add the last label to this. Once you're done, you can then right click. Do not shift right click, just right click onto your factory manager, and that will push your labels to the manager. If you now open this up, you should see the warning has now gone. If it's not gone, just hover over your disk. Maybe you've missed out a label, and if so, just make sure you add it. And the way that I can see if this is running is if I look into my inscriber, I should now see all of them have power. And this is really useful. This basically means that we can use this one inventory cable here that's facaded and looks really cool to power our machines and give and take items into it using just that one cable. Perfect. So let me clear my inventory and let me test this out. I'm going to grab a full stack of silicon. Let's say 10 of our gold. I might as well grab half a stack of Certus quartz and let's say 16 diamonds, just this amount over here. I'm then going to add maybe a stack and a half of redstone because each one of these is going to require one redstone. And actually we'll probably get a little bit more silicon, why not? And so I'm going to go back over to my machine, and if I go and add items to my left chest, they will now be processed up into the correct inscribers. So you'll see the silicon has now been added to the silicon press and is now producing the printed silicon. That's then going to go straight into our materials barrel again, which then brings the items over to our last item. So all the printed silicon comes over here, all the printed logic circuits come over to here, and if I let that all process through, I can look at my results, and I'm now getting the processors. This is insanely cool. We can just add all of our items into this barrel, and it will be processed into the processors that we need. Now, we can actually increase the speed of this by adding some more inscribers, or we can actually add the acceleration cards from Applied Energistics. That's going to require some Fluix crystals that we got last episode, but I'll show you a new way that we can make them, and some advanced card, which uses the calculation presses that we'll be making. So I'm going to need 5 of the calculation processes for the acceleration cards that I'm going to be making. So let's get on that. The advanced cards, we're going to need a few of them. We're going to get 10 of them. We've got 5 machines, so we'll add 2 acceleration cards in them for now. And then we need some Fluix crystal, which we've got. Now, if you haven't got Fluix crystal, the way that you make it is by submerging charged Certus quartz, redstone, and quartz in water. So this is why I made that charged Certus quartz earlier. If I now go over to my pond over here and throw all of my ingredients into the water, just like here as an example, and turn my magnet off, it will now produce Fluix crystals from them. Check that out. I'll whack the magnet back on. We've now got 64 Fluix crystals. So let's make ourselves up some acceleration cards. Perfect. We've got the 10 that we need, and let's add 2 to each one of them. It's the exact same as the mechanism one. You can either shift right click them in, which is probably the preferred method, or again, you can open this up and then shift left click them in on this side here. And already that has sped up the production of these circuits by quite a bit. Great. We've ran through every single one of our processors now. I'm going to take these out and pop them into our storage for now. One of the first things that we're going to need is an ME controller. We don't need it, but I'm going to craft it because it's useful. We need the skystone and just smelt that up into the skystone block. For now, let's just get a stack of it. And silly me, I accidentally took out all of the cabling when I did that ultimine. There we go. We now have power to the machines. Perfect. In fact, I might as well just cover all of this up right now. I think this is looking really nice now. So let's craft ourselves up the ME controller. This is going to be the main hub of our network. It's going to be what intakes the power, and yeah, it's just the overall controller for our network. And for now, I might as well just get 3. We don't need 3, I'm just going to get 3 because we're going to plop it into one of our walls. So I'm not entirely sure how big we're going to be making this controller network, but if I plug this in over here, we now have a 3 long ME controller. If I right click my ME controller, it will show me everything that's connected to my AE2 network. I'm going to change the power over here to FE, and we can see that we're using 18 FE per tick just to keep this network alive, and we've not even got anything connected to it. So let's connect our first thing to this network. The first things we're going to be crafting is going to be a crafting terminal. You make that by crafting a regular ME terminal, which looks very confusing, but trust me, these recipes aren't that difficult. We've already got the processor here. We now need the annihilation core. That's going to require some Fluix dust. So I'm going to get 24 of these and go into my crusher to get the Fluix dust. Perfect. I'm also going to get the regular Certus quartz dust as well. We've already got 4, but I think we might as well do a whole stack of it. We've got so much. So we need those annihilation and formation cores. They're not difficult, using the processor, Fluix dust and quartz, and then we need to use the regular Certus quartz, Fluix dust and processor. For now, we'll just get the 1 craft of each of those, but we will end up crafting a lot more of these in the future. We then need an illuminated panel. There's a few options. We just need the regular illuminated. That's going to require the quartz glass, glowstone, redstone, and then iron ingots. Quartz glass is made by using regular glass surrounded by some Certus quartz dust. So we'll craft a bit of that, and then we'll craft our illuminated pane. Perfect. And now we have everything to make an ME terminal. I'll make this into a crafting terminal, but not right now. And then we need to make ourselves a storage bus. A storage bus is what connects external storage to an ME network. And for that, we need 2 pistons and an ME interface. The ME interface is crafted like so, and we've got those annihilation cores, so we can craft that already. We also need to link this all together, and the way that we do that is with Fluix ME cable. That's going to require some quartz fiber, crafted like so. Then we need some of our Fluix crystal to turn that into our ME cable. 12 should be enough for now because I'm just going to demonstrate what we're going to be doing. And I'm also going to grab ourselves any kind of inventory, just a chest for now. If I plonk down a chest over here, and plonk down an ME storage bus connected to this chest, and add a cable connecting the controller into the chest. Anywhere I want on this network, I can now add one of my terminals, so I'll add it over here. And when I right click my terminal, I can see anything that's connected to the network. If I add some items to our chest, for example, all of this stuff, and then go into my terminal, I see all of the items. It's exactly the same as the storage lectern. I can even take all the items from here. Now I'm going to briefly talk about channels because this is where it gets a bit confusing. This ME glass cable can only transfer 8 channels, and a channel is used up by anything that takes, removes, or interacts with our network. So this storage bus here is one thing that acts on the network, and same with this terminal. So right now we're using 2 channels, but it doesn't show you this. If I right click with any kind of wrench and grab ourselves that cable again, I'm going to go back to my crafting because I want to craft myself the smart cable. This is the Fluix ME smart cable, and the way that you craft this is with redstone, glowstone, and then a covered cable. A covered cable is just wool and then your glass cable. So for now, I'm only going to craft the one. Perfect, we've now got one Fluix ME smart cable, and I'm going to connect that on this side of the connector over here. So when I said it was going to use 2 channels, this is a demonstration of this. If you look up in the top, you'll see 2 out of 8 of my channels are being used. And you can actually see 2 little lines across this smart cable here demonstrating that. So if I want to see how many channels are being used up, I can use this smart cable for that. Each side of an ME controller can give off 32 channels. This Fluix cable can only transfer 8 of the channels. And so to get the 32 out of here, we actually need to use something called dense cable. The way that you make that is by getting our Fluix ME glass cable that we made earlier and converting all of that into covered cables, and we're then going to turn all of that into our smart cable as well. So we now have 4 of the ME smart cables. If I combine 4 of them, I get my ME dense smart cable. And if I replace my ME smart cable with my dense cable, I'm actually not able to place it right now. And the main reason is because ME smart cable takes up a huge space with the block and it can't have any of these accessors or interfaces attached to it. So the dense cable is only really used to transfer the cable connections. So I'm going to take away my storage bus right now and add the dense cable here. And instead, I'm going to add my storage bus over here and connect a regular cable into it. I can use my smart cable here, it doesn't matter. So if I now look, I'm still using 2 channels, but I've got a limit of 32 because I'm using this dense cable. So this is where channels get really confusing, and I'm not going to start talking about subnets or P2P because that's just going to lose absolutely everyone right now. But all you need to know is that every single face here gives off 32 channels, and we're going to use dense cable to connect them. You can also color your cables, which means that the colored ones do not connect to other colors. However, the Fluix cable, the default one, will connect to any color. So I'm going to take back all of my wiring here because this was just a demo setup. And I'm actually going to upgrade from the ME terminal to the ME crafting terminal. And that will give me the storage lectern style interface with a crafting table in the middle. That's just going to need a crafting table, and there we go. We've got the crafting terminal. So if I wanted to connect my AE system up to my current chest system, I would need a storage bus for every single one of my chests. However, sophisticated storage and functional storage add one really neat block that allows me to connect every single chest to just one storage bus. And that's by making something called the storage controller. In this case, it's the sophisticated storage controller. Don't be confused with the functional storage one that's named exactly the same. That's going to require 2 comparators and a chest. If I plonk this next to my chests, you'll see this storage controller actually connects to every single chest that's attached to it from sophisticated storage. So instead of having a storage bus for every single one of these chests, I can actually just have the one storage bus connected up to our storage controller. We have to somehow bring an ME cable all the way down here, so I might move our storage up into this corner over here temporarily whilst we're still using chests. So it's time to bring back out the super packing tape and move it over there. And so I'm gonna quickly rebuild our storage lectern setup, this time using the storage controller instead. So if I pop the storage lectern down and give our bookworm charm, I can use the Dominion one to actually just link up with the storage controller. We don't need to link to all of our chests, and that should still work as normal. However, I'm going to craft myself the storage tool from Sophisticated Storage. Not a difficult recipe, but it will require an ender pearl. So beforehand, I showed you that the storage controller would connect to any single Sophisticated Storage chest beside it, as if it was one big multi-block. However, I lied. If I just use the storage tool, what I can do is right-click my controller. I can link inventories close by to the storage controller without them having to directly touch the storage controller. So this chest over here, yeah, that's now linked. So I could deposit all of my universal cable in here, and I can see it in my storage lectern. If I type in cable, it's all appearing there, and I can take it back out again. But instead, what that now allows us to do is place our storage controller over here and connect all of our chests directly to the storage controller like so. And if I now place my smart cable, followed by my storage bus over here, and then my dense cable, I can add my crafting terminal to the side of this, and I now have the exact same setup as my storage lectern. To get it exactly how I set it up, I'm going to change this to number of items and sort in descending order. And that is the exact same as my storage lectern. So we now have the start to an AE system. We can actually remove our old friend the bookworm here, because... oh, he died. But that's because we now have this AE crafting terminal that can do all of the job of that. And we can also hook it up to things like ME drives, so we can start using storage disks later on, which have a lot better of a storage capacity. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. I think we need to move to a wireless version of this crafting terminal. To do that, we're going to need to get ourselves two things. We need a wireless access point and some sort of range booster. I'm going to craft the infinity range booster. That needs a nether star, but luckily we've already got a couple spare, so we can try and craft this as well. And we need ender dust for this, so that means we're going to need to use some ender pearls that we had earlier and crush them up as well. Netherite for that, so 3 netherite, we can make that, and the infinity range booster. Perfect. So that means we're also going to need to craft the wireless crafting terminal, which doesn't seem too bad. We just need the regular crafting terminal that we've got, a wireless receiver, and then a dense energy cell. Ooh, that looks a little bit painful. We needed a bit more fluix dust, so I crafted up another stack. Perfect. So we've got everything we need. We just need to take away the crafting terminal that we've got, and I guess just craft it up with the crafting table. Like so. We'll pop our wireless access point on the top over here and add our infinity range booster. Range infinite meters, perfect. Now do note that is only in this dimension. If I wanted to get the one that works cross-dimensionally, I need to make the dimension card, which uses 4 of those and a load more nether stars. I just need to pop my terminal in this slot over here to link it to this specific storage, and I believe that's good to go. We also need to charge it up as well, so I'll pop it in this energy cell over here. And I can pop this in any single curio slot. It doesn't actually matter. You see it just says slot curio, so I can actually put it in the crafting in the 6 slot or the pattern encoder or even the personal shrinking device. It really doesn't matter. And now we need to set up a keybind for it. Now I'm a little bit weird. I always set my keybind to be like a variation of my current inventory keys. So E opens up my inventory, Shift E opens up my backpack, and Control E is now going to open up my wireless terminal. I just find that it works a lot better, so maybe you can get some help from that. It saves up a complete keybind slot as well, so try that out next time. So we now have a complete wireless terminal set up. I can access this anywhere inside my world now from any distance. This is awesome. And we could end the episode there, but I want to get onto the start of auto crafting. Already from one episode, we've gone from the storage lectern all the way to a fully fledged AE system. And to do that, one of the first things we're going to need is a pattern encoding terminal. It's just the ME crafting terminal we crafted earlier with an engineering processor. Perfect, the pattern terminal. I can also make a wireless version of this, but for now, I'm just going to plop that there. And this is really similar to our crafting terminal, but it has a pattern slot, and this is where we encode crafting patterns or processing patterns. To fill that slot, what we're going to need is the blank pattern from AE2. Not a difficult craft, but we're going to need quite a few of these. And so now that we've got some patterns, we can pop them in the pattern encoding terminal. But now we need to sort out crafting, storage, and CPUs. I know this is going to sound really confusing, but just hold on for a sec. The most important thing we need is some crafting storage, and that's by making a crafting unit and then using some sort of storage component. Storage is based on how many crafts it's going to do. So if you've got something really big, for example, the netherite furnace, and it requires the obsidian furnace, which requires the emerald furnace, which, you know, going on and on and on, you're going to need a large crafting storage. Now for now, we're only going to be doing basic craft, so I'm going to start off with a 4K storage, which to be honest should be enough for quite a long while. So we'll craft ourselves up the crafting unit, and then the 4K ME component, which is going to take 3 1K components. And there we go, the 4K ME storage component. By crafting these two together, we now get the crafting storage. I can pop this anywhere on my network. For now, I'll just pop it there, and you'll see it's device online, so that means it's working. So we've got the pattern encoding, and we've got the crafting storage. All we need to do now is set up the auto crafting. There are 4 different types of patterns that you can make. The 2 that I'm going to be focusing on are the crafting patterns and the processing patterns. To make auto crafting, we're going to need a molecular assembler, and we're also going to need an ME pattern provider. The assembler will be doing the crafting, and the pattern provider is what we use to actually send out the craft requests. So we've got our pattern provider and the molecular assembler. I'm going to make a quick temporary setup to show you how to use this. But chances are, next episode, I reckon I will have moved all my stuff up to this secret cubby room, and we can use this as our storage automation. For now, what we need to do is connect up our pattern provider and the molecular assembler up to our network. Now by default, if I pop a pattern provider here and a molecular assembler next to it, this will work. And any AE machine that's next to each other doesn't actually need a cable in between. You can place them together like this, and that will actually power that, and both will appear on our network. And what I can do here is go into my pattern encoding terminal, and let's just get a basic recipe of turning the vexing archwood logs into archwood planks. I can do this from manually popping in the recipe like so, or JEI is really handy for this. If I go over to the archwood planks recipe and then just press the encode pattern button up here, that will automatically fill in the details for this pattern encoding system. If I press encode pattern, I now get a crafting pattern of this recipe. And it looks like a regular pattern, but if I hold shift, I can see what it's going to craft. If I now come out of there and go into my pattern provider, I can place my crafting pattern inside this. And it will try to use any adjacent inventories next to it to craft up that archwood plank. So technically I could have a molecular assembler here, here, or even here. If I didn't want that to be the case and I only wanted to fixate on this molecular assembler, I can use a wrench that will make this arrow appear on my block, and I can force it into that direction here, so it will only use this molecular assembler. I could also craft it with itself and get a smaller version of this and pop it directly on the side of it, which will take up a little bit smaller of a footprint, but will lose the ability to craft using multiple molecular assemblers next to that pattern provider. So for now, I'm going to keep that in its large form by recrafting it and just having it completely directionless. So if I add my pattern back in and go into my crafting terminal, I should now see there's a little plus icon next to my planks. If I take out all of my planks, I still see the recipe for planks here with that plus icon, and if I click it, I'm able to select the amount that I want to craft. If I already have archwood planks in my system, I can actually just middle click, and that will open up the same inventory. It doesn't matter if I do or don't have any in my system. So let's say I want to craft 10 planks, which isn't possible because it will craft it in batches of 4. If I press next, it will show me that it's going to craft 12 of these archwood planks and what materials it's going to use for that. And once that's ready to go, I can just press start over here, and if I quickly turn over, you can see the molecular assembler was just doing its thing and crafted up those 12 extra archwood logs. Now obviously I already had 7 in my system. This is really quick, but you can also augment this with the acceleration cards to speed this up even further. So let's start with our next recipe, which will be the crafting table. If I encode that and pop that into the pattern provider, and just as an example, I've taken out all my archwood planks, so if I try to craft the crafting table and press next, you'll see it's going to try and craft more archwood planks to craft the crafting table. If I click up in the crafting tree up here, I can see everything it's going to be using and crafting to make this crafting table. So let's say I want to make 16 crafting tables. If I press start on that, I should see it first craft up all the planks, and then after it's done all of that, it's going to craft up all the crafting tables. So it started on the crafting tables, and now it should be done. As if by magic, they're now all finished. But before we end the episode, I want to talk about processing patterns. And specifically, I want to get a processing pattern for my logic, engineering and calculation processes. If you're familiar with what we need recipe-wise, you'll know that we just need 1 gold ingot, 1 silicon and 1 redstone. They don't even have to be the printed versions, because if I pop them into my inventory here, our automations will already process them into the required materials without us actually having to do anything. So this is where it gets really interesting for processing. I'm going to add a new recipe for logic processors, adding a single gold ingot, a single bit of silicon and a single bit of redstone, and the result is going to be 1 logic processor. Now, if I didn't have any logic processors, I can actually drag them from JEI. Literally just click and drag from JEI and pop it in the slot. And that will now be our processing pattern for logic processors. We'll encode that, and I'm going to get myself another pattern provider. And I'm going to place it on top of our input chest for our whole automation process, and add the pattern in here. If I connect up our pattern provider, I'm going to do this really ugly by just connecting it with the cable over here, I should see that it says device online here, meaning that it's active in the system. So now I can type in logic processor and I get that auto crafting option. And let's, for example, do 4. I'm going to press start, and it's going to put all of the ingredients into our input chest. If I go in here, you'll see all the ingredients have instantly gone in, and it's crafting them up as we speak. The problem is it's all going to be going into our results chest over here. The thing with the processing patterns is it doesn't care how it gets the materials back in. All I need to do is pipe them somehow from here back into our pattern provider. And we can use any kind of pipe or transport mod. For now, I'm going to use the mechanism cable, the basic logistical transporter, craft one of those up, and then just pipe in from here into the pattern provider. And you'll see once all of them are in, our auto crafting completes. So we've now automated logic processors. I can craft another 4 batches of them, and eventually they'll make their way into here, and then make their way into the results chest, and pipe them straight back into the pattern provider. We might as well make the rest of the pattern processes as well. So we'll do the calculation one, and we'll do the engineering one. So now we have all of our processors that we need, and I can put them in my pattern provider over here, and I can just auto craft every single processor that we need. Great, so we have now automated crafting and processing for our patterns. Obviously it's very ugly, and off camera I'm going to fix out the look for this. But that just goes to show you don't need to get into some advanced setups to have this all working. You can do this really early game. I haven't even had to touch the extended AE machines to speed this up. I've literally just got the SFM processing for our inscribers. So if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new around here. Also, there's a new hype feature. If you're on mobile, you might be able to hype the video. I don't know how that works, but if you are, definitely give that a go. YouTube are trying to push creators with less than 100k to have these hype buttons, and that promotes it in the algorithm. So if you can do that, make sure you hit that as well. But I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.